Hello. Ashley here. Welcome back to another episode of the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. That word maverick definitely comes into play today as I'm going to be telling you why I am, after 5 years, closing down my free Facebook group, Elevate Academy, which has almost 5,000 female entrepreneurs in it. I hope that you find this episode interesting just from a strategy and mindset standpoint. I hope that it also really encourages you to make those bold moves that are in alignment with your intuition and what you want to do with your life and your business and what feels good. So listen to this introduction to the podcast because this is me practicing what I preach. Hey mama, I'm Ashley and this is the Maverick Mompreneur podcast where you're free and encouraged to own your desire to create and scale an impactful, discoverable online brand and business in the midst of motherhood. A business that's aligned with your mission, lifestyle desires, personality, and zone of genius without wasting your time on the hustle and grind hamster wheel that is social media. Can I get an amen? Sis, you are a maverick, an original, willing to stand out in your authenticity, defy expectations, and do life and business outside the box. In our world, if it's not aligned with who we are, it's a hard pass or a brave pivot. So if you're here for the powerful identity shift and transformation from boss babe or boss mom to aligned CEO, building a one-of-a-kind, influential, hustle-free online business that will produce long-term impact and multiple streams of income through SEO, affiliate marketing, and courses while building yourself in the process, well, pop in those AirPods, grab that cup of coffee or glass of wine, and let's get growing. All right, let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is that every single time that I've gone with my gut when it comes to making a pivot, quitting something, walking away from something, no matter how big and scary that thing was, eventually the outcome has ended up so much better than I could have imagined. And it's led to me feeling so much more myself, so much more aligned, so much happier. And so when I make these big moves and I have that gut instinct that, yep, this is one of them, gotta do it, I'm not as scared anymore because I trust myself and I trust the process. On the flip side of that, I can remember very distinct times when I've gone against my gut, against the Holy Spirit, intuition, however you want to name that feeling. I know you know what I'm talking about, but when I've gone against that, it's ended up I felt less myself. I've lost myself. I felt unaligned. I felt depressed. I felt scared. I ended up in abusive situations. So this is so important to me to respect and honor myself and go with those gut feelings, even when from certain viewpoints, it may not make the most sense. So the last time I talked to you about one of these type of moves in business was when I stopped leadership and team building and recruiting in social selling, which at the time to a lot of people made no sense. I had sponsored well over 400 team members into downline from the time I started in that industry, which was 2017, to when I stepped away from that in late 2020. But for me, that was no longer aligned. And I knew, even though I was making residual income of $5,000 to $7,000 a month at that time, I knew I needed to walk away from it. And the blessing from that, although that's a lot of money to let just kind of go to the wayside, what was more important to me was that it allowed me to build business and operate in a way that felt aligned and totally me, and it allowed me to have the bandwidth to scale this business that I currently have, start this podcast, all kinds of amazing things that have really helped me to make the impact that I want to make in the way that I want to make it. And as I'm sitting here thinking about this decision that I've made to close down my free Facebook group that I've had for 5 years now that has 4.8 thousand members, it's really for those exact same reasons. So I want to transparently and honestly break down my thought process and where I'm coming from on this, and hopefully give you some takeaways for when you're making decisions or you're feeling like you want to switch things up. I hope this is super helpful to you when you're in those types of situations. So first, let's back it up to when I started that free Facebook group in 2019, because things are on the internet and also in my real life extremely different. And so to keep doing something that once fit and once was aligned and once the only thing that could happen And to continue doing that on in perpetuity, just because that's what I've been doing, doesn't make any sense to me. And so that's the first thing I want to say is every once in a while, it's really good to do alignment checks on all the things. Like, why am I still doing this? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is this in alignment with my larger goals? Is this in alignment with my vision for my year, for my life? And so I did just that. I'm literally practicing what I preach, and I feel so good about it. I've been doing a lot of shifting actually over the last year or so. I would say probably literally almost to the day a year. I've been really making some massive shifts. Prior to that, the bread and butter of my business was high ticket, so higher ticket group coaching programs, high ticket one-on-one. And a year ago, I made another risk move to make my coaching and courses more accessible by moving to a low ticket model and scaling from there. And that's been a steep learning curve and definitely challenging and a lot of work, but it's been so rewarding because it is truly how I want to build my business and the price point that I want to sell things at. And I just feel like I'm getting things dialed in. So anyway, this is part of that process. But back to 2019, my free Facebook group, Elevate Academy, was really the only place that I could show up because it was a private group. I did not feel comfortable showing up and building a coaching business on my public social media. And so it felt like this little safe place where I build community. I could teach in there. I could eventually then launch my own offers, which actually really wasn't even the plan. But I did that about 6 months later in 2020, and it literally changed my life. So I am 1 million and always and forever % will be grateful to my Facebook group, Elevate Academy, because of that group. And because that's the only place that I was selling, this is what allowed me to have freedom in all the ways and to grow and expand my business from there. I was going through some really difficult life stuff where the online place where I felt safe showing up and building was in that Facebook group only. And I've built so many amazing relationships, especially through that time when I would just go into the group and that was my safe space amongst all the other things that were going on. But things have changed a lot online and then also in my life. And so now I've been evaluating what are my priorities and where is my energy best spent. And so I think it's no secret if you have a Facebook group that reach is definitely down. It's completely different than it was when I started the group back in 2019 and the way that it was in 2020, even 2021. I don't think that it's impossible to grow and build a business in a Facebook group. In fact, I think it's still a great way to do that, but I don't want to double down like it would be required in order to get my reach back to where it was, because I'm ready now to kind of spread my wings and get more visible on public platforms. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram or not, but I'm really putting a lot of efforts into showing up there and teaching there where my content can be seen publicly. And for a while, that was really scary, but I've gotten more and more comfortable and I'm no longer afraid to do that. I started this podcast back in 2021, and this also takes a lot of my energy, and I want to be able to put even more energy into the podcast. But most importantly, I was thinking about it, and my word of the year is cultivate. And I really do feel like cultivating community is one of the absolute backbones, if not the backbone of business. And I have a community where I am very invested in cultivating, and that is my Maverick Society coaching membership. And what feels best and most important to me as far as putting in time and energy is to build even more of that sense of unity there with my paying members who I just absolutely adore what we have going on there. And so to me, doubling down on cultivating community there, doubling down on my podcast, doubling down on public platforms where I can impact people in a public way, and I'm not scared to do that anymore, that feels like what is aligned right now. And I'm getting excited just talking about it because it feels like not a burden, because the Facebook group wasn't even a burden. I haven't even been very active and engaged in there. And so it's not like I'm putting all this effort and then walk away. It's just making that decision to close a chapter and evolve into the next level. And that gets me so excited for myself, and then also for you too. If you're in a position where you're ready and wanting to take things next level, you have to look at how can you create the bandwidth for that to happen and what's working for you and how can you do more of that. And even if it means letting something go or pivoting your business model, ultimately long-term, long game, as we always talk about here, that's going to be the best move for you. And so I just started getting excited once I made this decision, like, oh my gosh, now I can plan retreats for for the membership and I can add more co-working sessions. I'm going to have the bandwidth to do it. And I don't know, that just makes me really excited. So if you're in the group, I hope that you've gotten so much value from the group, but I am definitely just ready to spread my wings. And it just doesn't feel aligned for me anymore to put energy and time into cultivating there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep open that group until Friday, June 21st. So as I'm recording this, that's 2 weeks from today. So depending on when you hear this, hopefully that gives enough bandwidth and time if you're in there to make some decisions. Because I'm closing the free Facebook group, what I'm doing is bringing back the founding members rate for my coaching membership, which is the Maverick Society. That is $222 a month, where you get access to literally my full body of work, all 30 plus courses that I've created on every topic under the sun when it comes to online digital marketing, as well as weekly coaching calls on Thursdays and community with other female entrepreneurs who are committed to building aligned and authentic businesses without having to pay thousands of dollars per month for that mastermind type access. I just think it would be absolutely nuts to not get in there if you are looking for something like, and you have this opportunity to get in at founding members rate, which was offered a year ago. There's a couple different payment options, things like that, but I know I'm so excited for the next chapter, and I hope that many of you will join me, be in our community, be around me, and get my coaching every day, and pursue building an aligned business that lights you up, because it's such a different space. It's such a different creative energy when you get into that aligned to you business model and energy. Oh, it's just so good. So if you need permission to make a big move that feels aligned, I really hope that this is it. Remember that we get to be in a position because of the type of business that we're building where our business actually brings us joy and excitement, and you always have permission to change things and do things differently. In fact, times change online, life changes, our desires change. You almost have to plan for changing and doing things differently, and sometimes you have to burn it all down, and sometimes you have to burn one piece of it down to be able to come back or go further in the aligned direction that you want to. So if you are a female entrepreneur, I'm assuming that you are, unless you're a male family member of mine or a woman family member of mine who just listens. In that case, thank you. Love and appreciate you guys for the downloads and for investing in me. But if you're a women entrepreneur ready for your next level of success and impact and are ready and willing to go all in on claiming it authentically and aligned, I invite you to check out the Maverick Society membership. You can hit the link in the show notes or head to elevatedwithashley.com/Maverick and get on in there with us while the founding members rate is available until June 21st. All right, until next episode, cheers to your impact and making those bold moves, brave pivots, and hard passes on things that are not aligned with who you are and the values that you hold. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a ton of value. And if you did, I would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, and review this podcast. It really helps push out the message that I have to share with other female entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.